And there she is. Looks like she's nice and
Hi.
relaxed, too. Even better.
I just ran in the door. I was at the track all day.
That's what I heard. Very busy day for you. So
Yeah.
before we dive into
Tired.
it, what you been up to today? Why are you so tired?
We were testing. We were shaking down the cars and stuff, just working on our short track cars a little bit. At one of the tracks that we're not racing at this year. That's what kind of sucks. Is like you don't get tested the tracks you don't get to race at. And so we were testing this little short track past Greensboro or whatever. I don't know. I slept the whole time in the car with my grandpa Joe. And it was like a 3-hour drive. So we left at like 5:45, 6 this morning and just like tested the cars and stuff. I'm actually racing the same car that I raced this last weekend.
So I could probably ask you a million questions, but I get to do that anytime I want. So we're just going to dive right into it. We've got a pretty big crowd, which is a very good thing. We will start with Jim Trado at MAV TV. Jim, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hailie, how much damage did the car incur after I-44? It sounds like the team did a lot of work to get that ready for the test today. Did you get a chance to see how much
No, there
damage?
actually wasn't bad at all. It was just like we just replaced a few panels on it. They were able to fix the door from when me and Ty got into it, and I had a I think my right side panel damage, like right rear, and then the rear bumper, which I ended up taking all the panels home and stuff. I actually have it in the back of my truck. I can show you guys. But yeah, I take all my panels home whenever I get in wrecks and stuff. And so my whole garage is full of them. Let's see. So my truck's right here at my house. How do I flip the camera? Right there. So I have my panels in the back of it. I still need to unload them. Yeah. So I bring all those home with me. Oh, there we go.
So the track was rather challenging at I-44. I'll be obvious in saying that if you tried to pass somebody, you probably had to get in the water to do it. How many times did you venture down low to do just that, and the car got away from you because you were involved?
Yeah, it was honestly kind of stupid that we raced in that condition, just because like people on TV don't really see it as much. People don't understand it, like when the track's wet on the bottom, and so they don't get it, especially when they're not a racer and stuff. But I think that it actually went a lot better than I thought the race was going to go, considering how one lane it was, and just how like you couldn't use the first 2 bottom grooves. So like you obviously can't get a pass done from start to finish in one corner. Like it wasn't really possible there. So you'd always go in on the inside of someone right there, and then it'd just end bad.
Gotcha. Any words exchanged after the race? Have you talked to anybody that you got involved with on the track?
I mean, I apologize to people, and people apologize to me. I feel like that's like, there was a few drivers that were very mature about it, and there was a few that weren't. But like at the end of the day, like I'm not too worried about it. Like I did my part. Like everything I did wasn't intentional. I did my part to apologizing to the people I felt that deserved an apology. Like I'm not the type of person to like get in a mishap with someone, even if it's on accident, and just put my head down and ignore them. Like I'll say sorry, even if it wasn't intentional. And so I don't know. I think that it actually like wasn't as bad as a lot of people think, and like a lot of people tried to stir up like drama about it and stuff, and it totally wasn't like that.
I'm good for now, Charlie. I'll let others chime in here.
I greatly appreciate that, Jim. Thank you so much. We will go next to Kyle Rickey with MRN Radio. Kyle, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I just want to get I'm going to jump ahead to Bristol next week. I know you love Toledo this weekend, but
Yay.
we're going to jump past that, go to Bristol. Your thoughts of heading back there after running a couple of years in the East Series, what your big takeaways were going to that race next Thursday?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited. My first race I ever had with DGR was at Bristol. And I know it was kind of like a last minute put together deal, and I was kind of like still learning myself, which I'm obviously still learning now, but I really didn't know what I needed out of the car yet. And so we actually had like a really good car there, and it was really fast for a segment of time, but like that's when I was still struggling to figure out like what changes I wanted to make and learning everything that I wanted to do to the car, like what I liked about the car and stuff. And so I think we fell off more than we should have there. And I think that's something going back this year is now I have a clear mindset on what I like in a car. And so I think it will even be better for us. And me and my crew chief and all my crew guys have been getting along really well. And they've been actually like giving me the car I need to work with my abilities, like of what I like with my driving style. And I think that's something that it took a little while to figure out with each other, but I think we're definitely doing a good job of that now.
And one quick follow-up, what's it like walking into that place for the first time?
I usually fall down walking
Other,
on the side
other
of the
than
track.
that,
It's actually the thing that like I hate the most is that your ears just ring for about 3 days after. That's the only part that I don't like. Other than that, it's amazing. It's really cool. It's such a cool environment to be around. Bristol's just it's so historic.
thank you.
Where are your earplugs, Haley? Mine still ring from a trip there back in 2003. So
Oh,
yeah,
I
just be
believe it.
careful. Just be careful. I'm actually going to jump to Kyle Rowland with the Toledo Blade. Kyle has some time constraints. Kyle, go ahead with your questions whenever you're ready.
You're on mute. You're all good.
Good call. So you've had some races without fans, some with fans. I'm just curious. I mean, I know it's different than other sports. It's not like you hear them when you're driving, but is the vibe of a race and at the track different than when you have fans and not fans? And Toledo will have them for the first time this week.
Oh, completely. Like I think at I-44 we had quite a few fans there, and it's just like the whole vibe is different. And I think us not having fans there has made it more like a test day. It feels like a test day when there's no fans, and that's something like I don't like it. Like I like race days, and I look forward to race days. And I even just at I-44 having the fans there, like when I was leading and we had that break, and then we were parked on the backstretch, having everyone like wave their hands and like cheer and stuff. Like it's like those little things that make it so much more meaningful and special.
For sure. And then you've raced here a few times, haven't probably had the finishes you've wanted to. Just your thoughts on the track at Toledo.
Track and it's a little small. Lacks a lot of grip. Always rains there. It doesn't help with NASCAR racing. It would have been great if it was like an off-road track, but it's always like you're always bad. The biggest problem you have there, the biggest fight that you're fighting is the weather. And it's so hard to find a good setup when the track is dry 1 second. The next thing you know, it's wet from it's sprinkling, and then it's downpouring, and then it's seeping, and it's always changing. So it's so hard to figure out what you need out of the car.
Okay. Well, thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Kyle, thank you very much. We will go next to Bob Pockrass. Bob, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yeah, Hailie, this year was supposed to be the year you were going to get all this experience on the big tracks that you hadn't been on yet. And obviously with no practice, I'm curious, do you feel like you've gained a lot of experience, or do you feel like it's been almost a lost year?
I wouldn't call it a lost year, but like I haven't got everything out of it that I was planning on, but I think we're making the best of it. And I definitely I've put a lot more time on the simulator. I've just been doing a lot more around stock car racing, not just practicing at the track. Like I've been doing a lot more dirt racing, dirt circle track racing, sim time, a lot more studying footage and focusing on the off-track stuff to get me ready for the on-track stuff since we have such a lack of practice.
And just checking, do you have any truck plans at all this year?
As of now, nothing is really set in stone. Money's still tight. ARCA's expensive. And so we're still figuring out the thing that I was actually at the beginning of the year, we were going to be in the clear to do a few truck races, but with money wise and budget wise for my racing. And so what actually happened is with the whole COVID deal and everything, everyone's budgets of what they were going to give extra on top of what I already had kind of signed was cut. And so then we had to start from square one again. So we're still trying to figure everything out. Obviously I'd love to do a truck race this year if it works out, and try to figure out, it'll help me with my plan next year too.
Thank you.
The cool thing is, some folks who have trucks in the garage there, isn't it? So
I know people who have trucks, but I'm struggling to find people that want to pay for them.
Right. It shouldn't be hard if that
difference.
funding falls into place. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So we will go next to Dustin Long. Dustin, if you have a question, we'll be happy to hear from you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thanks. Hailie, it kind of carry a little bit off of what Bob was saying. One thing I was curious is just, what's it like to be a race car driver in a season like this? And I know every year is different, but what has this year been like, and the challenges for you this season, and and what's been the most difficult thing about this season?
It, honestly, like, just because we weren't planning on it, like, I didn't have this in my plan. Like, this wasn't in my couple-year plan of stock car racing of trying to make it. And this is something that no one had in their plan. No one's ever been through before. So it just makes it really difficult, especially for a driver like me that doesn't have as much experience as I want to have and needs more experience. And you're not getting that. It favors the drivers who have been there forever. Those are the ones that doesn't affect the most. But the drivers up and coming, they're trying to make it in the sport, get seat time, get experience, because these races, they still cost the same for sponsors to pay for as they would if we got practice and qualifying and all that stuff. So it's like I get cut short. I'm really the only one that gets cut short in the whole process because I'm not getting the most out of it that I needed to and was planning on from the beginning.
So how much, and maybe it's too early to tell, but I know you've talked in the past about kind of having a particular plan with your family of kind of, sketching out where you hope to be. Does this put everything back a year potentially?
It doesn't put it back a year. I think it's just going to make the development process a little bit harder. And I think it's going to be a little bit harder on me, and I'm going to have to really buckle down and focus on it even more than I already am, and really give it like 110% effort every opportunity I get to, because I'm lacking everything I was planning. I'm not lacking everything, but like I'm not getting as much as I was planning on. And so I'm just going to have to take advantage of every single opportunity I get and learn the most. But I don't think it's going to put us back a year, no.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go next to Davey Segal. Davey, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Davey.
Hey, Hailie, good to chat with you. Curious as to how your relationship with your crew chief, Seth, has flourished throughout the year. Obviously starting out of the gate strong at Daytona, but throughout the pandemic and everything, not being able to see him face-to-face as much as you would in a normal year. How has your guys' relationship blossomed?
It's actually been pretty good right now. It helps me being in North Carolina so much. I've been in North Carolina a lot over the past, ever since racing started back up, I've been in North Carolina, I would say like 90% of the past couple months. I rarely go home. I go home for a few days before Bristol, and that's it. But I've been at the shop at least half the week. I'm there hanging out and just like being around the guys and building relationships with the guys. And I think that's really important to have a successful career, is bonding with your crew guys, making them feel special, making them feel like it's not just a one-person show, because it's not. It's an effort from everyone else.
Right. And also, I know before the pandemic, things are still a little up in the air in terms of running the Eldora truck race, but with that getting canceled and also, unfortunately, DeCoin going off the schedule, I imagine you had to be pretty upset.
Yeah, I'm still upset over it, which is like, I'm kind of glad, like, Eldora, I'm not glad Eldora got canceled, but like, if it was going to get canceled, like, I guess, like, I don't know, then I don't have to look for funding for it. So it's out of my hands. So I don't have to really worry about that. So there's always next year. So we'll figure it out.
Cool. Thanks. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Davey. We will go next to Jacob Seelman with Speed Sport. Jacob, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Charlie. Two questions for you, Hailie. Kind of following up from where you alluded to it with Bob earlier, but you've gotten the opportunity to do a lot of different things that, as you said, you weren't necessarily expecting to do this year. Between the dirt, some of the road course stuff, how has running in so many different disciplines helped you as a driver, and has any of that been able to translate for you as far as skills when you've come back to the ARCA car?
I think that I'm just trying to do everything I can that's like budget friendly, and that I can get a lot out of it for little cost, because stock racing is just so expensive. And especially with us having no practice and stuff like that, I'm trying to go to other sources to find where I can learn more about racing, anything that really helps me, that keeps me behind the wheel. I think we've been lacking a lot in the ARCA series, good racing. And I think the last time we saw good racing like start back up is at Gateway. Like, Gateway was actually some good racing. There were some good battles happening. Most of the time, everyone gets so spread out in the ARCA series that the racing just becomes boring. And I think what we need back is that good racing. And what I was planning on was racing like that. But between that, no pit stops, no practice, I have to find other places to go get experience and learn and develop.
You've done a lot of that with Factor One with the micro program that you've run some races with, particularly at Millbridge. What's that experience been like? And has any of your off-road background, has that helped you get adapted to the micro, or is it such a different deal that it was kind of like starting over on dirt?
Yeah, I think like going to Millbridge and stuff, like it's a very cost-effective way for me to get good racing experience. And I can do that very often out here. It's close to my house. It's only like an hour. And so I think that's something that like I've really latched onto, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun having like all my friends out there. And it's just a fun, no pressure thing that I can do to gain more experience. And the guys at Factor One are great. I know they have a lot of experience with dirt circle track racing, which I don't have a lot of experience with that. I'm a dirt off-road racer, a little different, but the dirt racing is dirt racing. I feel like if you know how to drive on dirt, you can drive on dirt across the board to a certain extent. Obviously, you're going to have to learn more, and obviously I need to learn more in the micros, but it helped me to get to a certain point at first.
I'll follow up real quick if I can, Charlie. Hailie, what was the biggest difference or the biggest challenge for you between dirt oval racing versus your off-road background?
No spotters. None. I don't like that. I like having someone talking in my ear, and I'm used to that. And something like just something about the feeling of just clearing yourself is just uneasy with me. I don't like it.
Fair enough. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, I like to have a spotter when I'm changing lanes on the highway too, Hailie. So I'm with you
exactly.
on that. Yeah, you're clear. You're clear. We'll go next to Jacob Bartecki. Jacob, go ahead with your question whenever you're ready.
Hey, Hailie, this is kind of a broader question, but in a state like Ohio and a track like Toledo, that's kind of a local track. The Cup Series obviously doesn't get to Ohio other than Mid-Ohio with the Xfinity Series. How important are those local tracks to growing the sport?
I think that that's where you make your core base of fans. That's where you build that fan base of people who buy your merch, support you, support your social media, and they come with you and they start ending up at the big series races. And I think if every driver can bring their fan base from like their local circle track to the NASCAR world, to the three main series, like it's just going to keep building the sport.
Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
That's where I started, following all you crazy race car drivers at my local short track too.
Hey, I started at Irwindale watching my dad.
It works. It works.
Yeah.
We will go next to, let's see who we have next. Louis Torres at the Motorsports Tribune. Louis, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hey, Hailie. So it's been mentioned multiple times how difficult is it with the lack of practice, but there's a scratch to see some people feeling like ARCA to many people's eyes is like a setback. What do you have to say with those folks saying such thing where they don't understand the driving mentality process like you do?
Yeah, like at the end of the day, ARCA is a development series. It's not the Cup Series. It's a development series where it's a stepping stone for drivers to move up to higher levels. And I think people get so judgmental on it. And it is like there's some moments where like people make mistakes. It's thrown together. It's not cup racing. And so people have to understand that. But also to a certain extent, like we were supposed to be getting more out of the ARCA series than we are. And we were supposed to get pit stops. And that's something I really need to practice before I go to trucks. And we were supposed to get practice qualifying. We usually get a day before practice at most of the big tracks. And that's something like all of that's getting cut. We maybe get 5 laps of practice at some of the bigger tracks like Michigan, like those type tracks. And then all of a sudden you go right into the racing, green flag racing. It's something that's a lot different. And it's definitely been a lot more difficult and harder on my career.
Thank you, and best of luck this weekend and for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, we will go next to Michael Shelton. Michael, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Well, Hailie, with the exception of Kentucky and Iowa, you've had a top 10 finish in all your races this year. I mean, I know you get to win a race, but how would you evaluate your season to this point with everything considered? Are you happy with your performance thus far, or is there still you feel that there's another switch that you can flip?
I mean, like, if I finished outside the top 10, just like if nothing happened, I'd be a little nervous for myself. But I think that, I don't know, I just hold myself to such a high standard. I have such high goals for myself to accomplish. And I know, like, I'm still in my development years and stuff, but still, like, having, like, a lot of eyes on me and stuff, it does add pressure. It does add pressure to do better than I am at any moment. And so I think that I just had to keep in my mind, like, hey, like, you're in the ARCA series, you're developing for the future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So Hailie, what are the positives and the negatives to having all those eyeballs on you? I would imagine every race car driver wants to, when you get into this, you want to be a famous race car driver. You want people to you want to have fans, so that there's obviously some positives and there's some negatives to it. From your perspective, what are those positives and negatives?
I think that when it's going good, everyone sees it, but when it's going bad, everyone sees it. And you don't get to choose when people see it. That's the thing.
Yep. We will go next to Mitchell Brewer at Popular Speed. Mitchell, go ahead whenever you're ready.
But what kind of discussions have you had going into next season?
Next season, that's the thing, like, that it's kind of difficult when you race off sponsorships and stuff, because you almost have to finish out your year before you kind of get in talks of the next year. And with everything that's been happening this year, there is no set plan on what's happening with NASCAR for next year. Like, are we going to have practice back? Are we going to have qualifying back? Like, sponsors want to know how much you're getting out of it and how much they're getting out of it. And I think that's something that it's still very unknown. So it's very hard to talk sponsors deals at the moment.
I see Dustin Long has raised his hand again. Dustin, do you have a follow-up question for Hailie?
Yes, thanks. Hey, Hailie, you mentioned earlier that you collect the panels off all your cars. Why is that, and how did that get started?
So it was actually, I went inside the shop. It was actually from Kentucky. And I didn't know that was absolutely mangled from there. We had to put a new front clip on the car. And so I was like, yo, like, do you guys have this nose anywhere? Like, I want to take it with me. And it's like, I drive my Raptor. And so every time I went to the shop, I was always like, from the race before, like, say, like, there's races we didn't damage anything. But it's always like a bumper, like something that's like not a big crash, just like enough to where they can't fix it. And so then all of a sudden I found in the shop, they had the secret cabinet of all my panels from the beginning of the year. And I was like, hold up, you guys didn't tell me about any of this? So I ended up taking all of them. And every time I go to the shop, I'm always like, where'd those panels go? And so I think I'm actually like, I'm going to think about it, how I want to do it the correct way, but I want to start selling them and give like a big portion of it to charity and stuff. Cause that's something like I've been looking to get behind, is find a charity that I can get behind and support.
And I also want to check, looking at a map, and I'm not as familiar with California, but it looks like your area is not as impacted from the fires. Is that correct? Or has your area been impacted?
California is always on fire.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing you have to keep in mind. It's always on fire. There's always fire. I live in a dirt field with weeds everywhere, and it's always on fire. Like, it's just, I'm used to it. That's kind of the normal of California. Like, if there's not a fire in California, usually something is wrong.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hopefully your current location is not under an imminent threat.
Oh, no, it's good. We've had
wildfire.
fires like right on our property. We're good. My dad's got a water truck.
That's a very, very good thing. Well, you have dirt. Do you have a dirt track, a cart track there on your property that you use as well?
We got like a makeshift dirt oval. Yeah. We got, we have off-road, like a full off-road truck track. We have like ramps for off-road trucks. My little brother has 2 supercross tracks, an outdoor track, ramps everywhere. We have a wall ride. We have an airbag and all this stuff. Like, because my uncle, he actually like has built all our tracks when he was younger and stuff, because we have tractors and everything since we have quite a bit of land. And so he builds all of the tracks for us. And since he's like related, it's just easy. And so, like, there's always stuff happening around our house.
So I've seen some of your little brother's exploits. I'm actually surprised there's not more fires on your property with this crazy.
I know.
Casey Campbell's got his hand up in the chat. Casey, if you've got a question for Hailie, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Charlie. Hey, Hailie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hanging in there. So, we're going to Toledo this weekend. This is I think the 4th time you have raced there.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to in running there? I know I know the first time didn't work out so well for you, but overall, what do you think about that place? I know, and apologize if that's already been asked.
And they're all good. Man, like Toledo, it's just like an odd place for us to go back so many times. That's like, is it really necessary for us to race at there's so many short tracks to race at and stuff, but like, I feel like we go to Toledo quite a bit. And last time, like, I don't know, I got like a little negative thought on Toledo just because last time I was there, I got food poisoning during the race. Like, not many people knew that. I had Wendy's the night before because I was starving and nothing was open because it's Toledo. And so I went to Wendy's and drove and got some chicken nuggets, which I didn't even know was real chicken. And the next day when we had to go race, but we only made like 6 laps, I woke up in the morning throwing up. I got to the racetrack and I just went to sleep in my hauler in my lounge. And my crew chief he said he'd wake me up before we go out since it was like under rain delay and stuff. So he came running in. He's like, okay, get dressed. Like, you need to get ready. So I got my suit on, and I didn't even get my shoes on in time, and I ran out the side of the hall, and I threw up everywhere. And then I grabbed my helmet, put my helmet on, got in the car. We did 6 laps, and then it got rained out for the rest of the day. So I'm not the biggest fan of Toledo.
Oh, jeez. Toledo chicken nuggets always seem to go together, right?
But there's nothing else. So, like, where else am I supposed to eat? I'm packing food from now on.
You've got someone here who knows some good spots, Hailie. We'll point you in the right
I gave
direction.
up on Toledo eating there. I packed for this weekend.
We'll point you in the right direction.
That reminds me, I should pack my lunch for this weekend too.
Yeah, I don't suggest Wendy's by the track.
Okay, good. That is a very valid point because I will be at the track this weekend.
Yes.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you, Casey. Is there anybody else who has any questions for Hailie Deegan? If you do, please raise your hand in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to let her get back and take a nap. She's had a long day.
I appreciate it. I'm starving.
All right. Looks like we do have a question from Alex Andrehev. Alex, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hey, Hailie. Thank you. Yeah, I just had kind of a quick question, then I'll let you get to your food and nap. But I just wanted to follow up on something you had said and was just about kind of having the lack of practice in qualifying. And I just want a little bit of clarification about like what you think is the biggest kind of loss. Is it the pit stops, as you mentioned? Is it like the lack of time with your crew chief, being a new crew chief, or just time in the car, really? Like, you know, can you just elaborate a little bit about what you feel like you're missing the most with that?
I think the 2 biggest things that stick out the most in my mind are not having pit stops, like traditional pit stops, and not having practice. That's 2 things that I really needed and I'm going to need before I go to trucks.
Mm-hmm. And then how much do you feel like having that time with a new crew chief too plays into just like the communication and then like translate to sort of performance, I guess?
Yeah, I think that's definitely important, but I think like I've been able to kind of get around that by just hanging out with the guys at the shop all the time. And since they're all in the race shop working on my cars, like I'm able to just go there and hang out. And it's kind of like a more no pressure environment. So it's not bad.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Good luck.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. So Hailie, in your West Series career, you had a lot of your success came on the flat bull ring style racetracks. We don't have many of those on the schedule for the rest of the season. We're going to go to a couple of fast high bank half miles.
Yeah, because we're going to Toledo 4 times.
Well, yeah,
like
now we've got Winchester added to the schedule. Winchester's a pretty big fast half mile joint. How do you feel like you've got a shot to win some of these upcoming races? You're coming off your best race of the season at I-44. Do you feel like that momentum is going to give you a good shot to win at some of these racetracks, even though they might not necessarily have been the type that you had all your success at?
Yeah, I think we're definitely close. And I think we're just in the fine-tuning stages of everything. Our short track program definitely, like, it needed a little work at the beginning of the season, but I think we've definitely made so much improvement, so many big steps, and now we're just in the small little fine-tuning area and parts where we just have to – everything just has to come together. It's so many pieces to the puzzle.
So you have said that, you know, you're here to learn. What did you learn on that last restart at I-44? If you had to do that one over again, what would you do differently?
I don't think I could have done anything else differently. I think just how everything played, and there was a lot of gray area things that were happening on the starts.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that there's nothing else I could have done. Like, I went at the line.
That's all
I
you can
can't
do.
help it if someone else goes before me and rolls up next to me.
That's all you can do. had to give you a lot of confidence after that race, though, to perform the way that you did and have the race car looked like it was pretty much what you were looking for through the mid stages of that race.
Yeah, I think it just showed the progress of our team, and the progress of like me as a driver and everyone of the team, just not myself. It's just is a whole team effort.
All right. I don't see anyone else with their hand raised in the chat. So Hailie, I think we're going to go ahead and let you go. We'll let you get your nap in after a long day of testing and riding in the car. We certainly appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you up here this weekend.
I appreciate
Thank you so much. Yep, take care. All right, everybody. We will get this video uploaded to NASCARmedia.com. If anybody has any questions directly for me, I will be here for a couple of minutes, and I'm happy to help with anything you have. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again this weekend following the Royal Truck and Trailer 200 here at Toledo Speedway.